Hey y'all. Okay, thought I had extra more time. I'm going to try to cover a few things here. Okay, a few things that I thought about, and actually in the last few years I thought about. Thought about that movie Birds. I thought about that movie Trucks. And then I thought about, for some reason, I thought about that movie with all the children and the one little boy goes up to the top of the tower. Don't know why I'm thinking those things. Thought I might mention it because, yeah. Now, actually, to go back to the second thing I said, this is a conversation I had back in like 2011, 2012. I normally have to go off of what age somebody is, or was. Um, it was them and one other person. We were having a conversation and they were saying this and that and the other. And I was like, well, wait a second. Call me stupid. Call me an idiot. I was like, if that's the case, which I was like, I kind of understood there was probably that in cars and this and that and the other. But I was like, well, who's to say that the gas won't be pressed or the brake won't be pressed or however that would work and an accident happened and it's all chaotic anyway, so you don't know if you did it or not? Which there have been recalls to have to do with some of those things, anyways. So there's that. Um, Now, when I said before that they use and abuse even children, um, yeah, I have another lightning story, and of course, where I'm at, there's of course a lot of tornado stories. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Um, they went and asked, I think it was be the last grade here. Um, oh, it was fifth grade, which for us it was seventh through 12th grade, so it was like for us, it was like, oh, yeah, we got to toughen up real quick or something. So that's kind of goes in everything. Y'all know what I mean, right? Okay, so, anyways, um, okay, so yeah, fifth grade. They go and ask the fifth graders what should be rebuilt. Now, I forgot about some of the things, but I had remembered about a conversation how I was like going in the road and started laughing, and I was like, more apartment buildings. So, of course, my son's telling me, oh yeah, they were talking about this fun stuff, da da da. It was probably going to be built anyways because of college town. But next thing you know, my son and I was going down the road, and he's like, oh man. And I was like, what? And he was like, don't you remember I told you they came and asked us what they should rebuild after the tornado? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I mentioned that they should build apartment buildings. And I'm like, okay. Now, the other part to the use and abuse. Um, okay, so of course, everything else had to happen years down the road. But I do remember him coming home that day and drawing something for me. Now, this is a 3-year-old that said, I'm not going to buy you a house, I'm going to build you a house. Okay? Um, cute, huh? Okay, so he's like, we were at the hospital years down the road, and he said, don't you see that building right there? He's like, remember, I like kind of designed that. So no telling, whatever, like I said before, trying to talk to my family about it, trying to get them on the same understanding, and it's, why is it over their head? And, but I understand children, or you haven't been in that position, you don't know what it's like, or whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Um, Now, it is kind of time for a kind of a funny story, so let me tell you. Okay, so the morning that the whole helicopter story, um, earlier that day, I'd seen an article saying a helicopter had to land on the interstate, right? So when they called me and they're like, we saw a helicopter and da da da, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? So I'm like thinking they would follow the helicopter. So I'm like, what are you talking about? So of course I show up, find out everything like that. So of course one thing led to another, and then I had to think and da da da. So then I'm like, well, a lot of things really do make you wonder, like how is a town run? I mean, what money is making a town run and all that. Um, I'm sure there's a few other things I wanted to cover. Let me try to think if I can remember. Okay, so here's a few, I guess you could say nuggets, whatever. Just a few quick things that I go over real quick. Okay, the Central Intelligence Agency. It was mentioned on 3 pages, right? Okay, now it was year 1960, 1961, and 1972. So there's a gap. Okay, now I don't know what I was looking up when I wrote this down, but in 1972, on June 29th, in another 5-4 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court rules that the death penalty for murder and rape is cruel and unusual punishment and thus violates the 8th and 14th Amendments. Probably have to look more into that, but kind of interesting that if they did that. I don't really know. That's a whole debate, right? Okay. Next thing, gold standard was mentioned on 4 pages. In 1893, in 1895, in 1896, and then in 1900. Did y'all know there was something called the Gold Democrats? Okay. And then gold discovery is on 13 pages. 1848, it was mentioned twice. 1858, 1859 mentioned, looks like I wrote 3 times, but 1869, 2 times. 1875, 1879, 1866, 1897, 1932, and 1933. And that's gold discovery. I wrote down right here also 3 men named, I didn't even want to say the name, the C's, and then 3 names of the R's, but the one R, not the other R. I don't think the other R was in there. All right, I'll see y'all soon. God bless.